Every morning, you're given a choice: reset your mind or repeat the same chaos. And if you don't take control of that first moment, when your eyes open, the world will. That phone, those emails, that noise, they'll steal your peace before you even leave the bed. But not anymore. Today, we rewrite your mornings. Today, we reset your mind and take your power back. When your eyes open in the morning, you're not just waking up, you're stepping into a battle. A mental battlefield where your first thoughts determine everything. Most people don't even realize the war they're in. They wake up and go on autopilot. They scroll, they snooze, they sink. But champions, those who rise, lead, and dominate their lives, they don't start their day by chance. They start it by choice. The first few moments after waking aren't random. They're crucial. They set the tone, the energy, the direction of your entire day. You can't build a powerful life on a passive mind. You must command your morning. You must command your mind. The average person wakes up reacting. They react to alarms, messages, notifications, obligations. And when your morning begins in reaction mode, your mind stays in that weak rhythm all day. You begin behind. You scramble to catch up. And worse, you train your brain to wait for life to happen to you. That's dangerous, because the mind is a pattern machine. What you allow in those first 5 minutes becomes what you tolerate for the next 15 hours. You can either rise like a leader with clarity and purpose, or you can roll over and surrender your day to randomness. But understand this: every second you delay claiming your mind, someone else is claiming it for you. The reason most people never change their lives is because they never change the way they start their lives each day. A reset doesn't mean escaping your problems. It means building the strength to face them with fresh energy. Resetting your mind is like rebooting your system. You shut off the fear, the fatigue, the emotional clutter. You clear the slate and install new software: confidence, focus, control. But this takes intention. You can't reset your mind while scrolling through chaos. You can't expect power when you begin with panic. The moment you wake up is sacred. Guard it like your future depends on it. Because it does. The mind is like a muscle, and your morning is the first rep. If you lift laziness, distraction, and delay, you'll carry that weakness all day. But if you lift clarity, courage, and drive in that first hour, you'll build mental strength that dominates every challenge. That's why champions don't leave their mornings to luck. They design them, they own them. They wake up and decide who they are, not what happened yesterday, not what they're afraid of tomorrow, but who they choose to be today. They know identity is not remembered, it's declared. And that declaration starts before sunrise. This is not about a perfect routine. It's not about checking boxes or becoming robotic. It's about claiming authority over your thoughts before the world has a chance to infect them. Because once the world gets in, once the noise hits, it's harder to hear your own voice. You lose clarity. You chase distractions. But when you command your morning, you walk into your day already ahead. You lead instead of follow. You respond instead of react. That is the difference between people who live with purpose and people who survive on autopilot. The power isn't in what happens to you. It's in what you choose to think about it the moment you wake up. So the question isn't, how do I have a better day? The question is, how do I lead my mind before the day begins? Because once you learn to lead your mind, you learn to lead your life. It starts with waking up and owning that first breath. Taking 10 seconds to remember your power. Not reaching for a screen, but reaching inward. Not chasing something outside you, but commanding what's inside you. If you don't own your mind in the morning, you'll spend the rest of the day trying to catch up to someone else's. But when you rise with intention, when you declare your direction before the sun hits your face, that's when transformation begins. That's when you don't just wake up. You rise up. The moment you wake up and grab your phone, you've already lost. Not because of the device itself, but because of what it represents: distraction, dependence, and disconnection from self. That instant reach is a habit deeply wired into our culture. But it is one of the most destructive patterns you can allow in your morning. You think you're just checking the time, the weather, or a quick message. But in that tiny gesture, you've surrendered the most powerful part of your day, your mind. Before you've even had the chance to think your own thoughts, someone else's opinions, images, problems, and noise have taken the front seat in your consciousness. The most valuable real estate you have is your attention. And you're giving it away before you've even stood up. You can't reset your mind if you flood it with chaos the second you wake. That phone carries a world full of other people's drama. Their highlight reels, their anger, their fears, their manipulation. It's not just a distraction. It's programming. You're letting the external world dictate your internal state before your feet even touch the ground. You absorb negativity. You compare yourself to false standards. You jump into stress mode, feeling like you're behind before the day has even begun. That reaction becomes a rhythm. And soon, your entire day is just a series of distractions, of you bouncing from one notification to another, wondering why you're exhausted without even doing anything meaningful. The real power comes from choosing silence, from resisting the urge to consume, and instead creating space to breathe, to think, to feel what you want. Those first 10 to 15 minutes of your morning are golden. And yet, most people pollute them with noise. But those who truly lead their lives know better. They don't just scroll, they shield. They protect that space like it's sacred, because it is. It's the only time of day when you're fully yours. Before the world wants something from you. Before the demands, the emails, the opinions. In that moment, you get to choose clarity or chaos, focus or distraction, power or weakness. What you choose becomes your frequency, and the world will meet you on that level. It's not about becoming anti-technology. It's about becoming VAS pro-intention. You don't have to throw away your phone. You have to stop letting it be your master. Because every time you check that screen out of habit, without purpose, you're reinforcing a dangerous pattern. You're teaching your brain that external noise is more important than internal peace. You're conditioning yourself to react rather than lead. Over time, that becomes identity. You forget what you believe, what you feel, what you want. Because your thoughts are drowned by everyone else's. The strongest people are not those who react the fastest. They're the ones who can stay grounded when the world spins. If you want to take back control of your life, you have to start by taking back control of your attention. And that means declaring the first part of your day as a no-access zone. No news, no messages, no feed, just you and your mind, you and your breath, you and your vision. That is not weakness, that is mastery. It's not about being unavailable, it's about being unshackable. Because when you feed your mind with stillness, with truth, with clarity, you don't just survive the day, you own it. You walk into every room knowing who you are. You make decisions from strength, not stress. And that level of clarity, It becomes your advantage in a world addicted to confusion. The truth is, the world will always be loud. There will always be more to check, more to know, more to respond to. But you don't need more noise. You need more power. And power doesn't come from reacting. It comes from resisting. From choosing to be deliberate. You can still use your phone. You can still connect with the world. But not before you connect with yourself. Because if the world reaches you before you do, you'll spend your entire life following instead of leading. And no one who was born to rise should ever begin their day by scrolling through someone else's life. You were meant to create, not consume. To build, not beg for approval. And that starts the moment you wake up and choose silence over noise. Most people wake up and immediately fall into the trap of pressure. Pressure to respond, to hurry, to perform, to prove. The day starts and they're already behind. They rush into action without checking in with their purpose. But here's the truth. If you start your morning chasing tasks without intention, you end up running through your day without direction. You can accomplish 100 things and still feel empty. Why? Because pressure without purpose is just noise. It's movement without meaning. You weren't designed to wake up and survive. You were meant to wake up and lead. And leadership begins by anchoring yourself in something deeper than the demands around you. Purpose isn't some grand, far-off idea. It's a daily decision. It's asking yourself every single morning, why am I doing this? Who do I want to become today? That one question has the power to shift your entire frequency. Because when your morning starts with purpose, you don't get pulled into meaningless urgency. You move differently. You speak with more clarity. You act with more power. You make fewer apologies for who you are. But when you skip that internal reset, when you roll into the day without checking your alignment, it doesn't matter how productive you are. You're busy, but you're lost. And busy doesn't build greatness. Purpose does. There's a lie society pushes hard, that your value comes from your output. That if you're not hustling every second, you're falling behind. So people wake up and push themselves into high gear, without ever slowing down to breathe. They wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. But real strength isn't about how fast you go. It's about how grounded you stay. The most powerful individuals don't let pressure lead them. They let vision lead them. And that vision comes from moments of stillness, moments where they reconnect with what actually matters. Not what's trending, not what's urgent, but what's true. That's why resetting your mind each morning requires more than just silence. It requires deliberate intention. Take 5 minutes to speak your own truth before the world speaks its noise. Say to yourself, I am not here to chase. I am here to choose. That shift changes everything. Suddenly, your decisions come from alignment, not anxiety. You move toward goals that you created, not ones forced on you by expectation or fear. That's not a luxury. It's a necessity. Because every time you ignore your inner voice, the outside world gets louder. And eventually, you stop recognizing the sound of your own power. There is nothing soft about choosing purpose. It is not passive. It's a fire, a declaration. It's what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise through it. Purpose makes pressure serve you, not the other way around. With purpose, you can say no without guilt. You can walk away from noise without fear. You're not confused because you're clear. And clarity creates momentum. It builds confidence. It gives your day a sharp edge. People will wonder how you stay so steady, so focused, so locked in. And the answer is simple: you chose purpose. Before the world chose panic. You don't need to be perfect in your routine. You don't need a 20-step ritual. You just need 5 minutes of truth. 5 minutes where you reconnect with your mission, your values, your why. You speak to yourself with courage. You look in the mirror and remind yourself of what matters. That one act will carry you through anything the day throws at you. Because pressure will come. Distractions will rise. But if your purpose is strong, they won't shake you. That's what resetting your mind truly means. Not escaping your responsibilities, but owning your reason for showing up every single day. Discipline is not about waking up excited every morning. It's not about feeling motivated or inspired the moment your alarm goes off. It's about making a decision long before the feeling ever arrives. Discipline is the commitment to show up, especially when you don't want to. Because let's be honest, there will be days when you're tired, days when you're overwhelmed, days when nothing around you is encouraging. That's when most people quit. But the ones who rise, the ones who actually reset their lives from the inside out, are the ones who do it anyway. They don't wait for energy. They generate it. They don't wait for circumstances to align. They align themselves. That's what morning discipline is. Choosing your power before the world has a chance to take it away. It's easy to scroll. It's easy to snooze. It's easy to start your day with comfort. But comfort is the enemy of growth. You're not here to live easy. You're here to live deliberately. Discipline in the morning isn't about punishment. It's about training your mind to remember who you are. When you wake up and push through resistance, even in small ways, you're proving to yourself that your mission matters. That you matter. That your goals are more important than your excuses. And the more you repeat that message, the more your mind starts to believe it. That belief becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. A disciplined morning doesn't have to look like what influencers post online. It's not about aesthetics. It's about alignment. It can be as simple as making your bed, drinking water, journaling, reading, praying, moving your body, or sitting in silence. What matters is that you have to do it with intention, that you show up for yourself before anyone else. Every small act of discipline is a signal to your brain, I lead my life, not my emotions, not my doubts, not my habits. Me. When you build that discipline, day by day, brick by brick, you construct a version of yourself that is unshakable. Because your strength didn't come from motivation. It came from the moments you kept going without it. It's important to understand that discipline is not a personality trait. It's a skill. And like any skill, it's built through repetition. Every morning you choose discipline, you're strengthening a mental muscle. You're reinforcing your ability to do hard things. And the more you do it, the less resistance you face. That doesn't mean it gets easier. It means you get stronger. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop needing validation. You stop negotiating with your goals. You get up and do the work. That's what separates leaders from followers. Not talent, not intelligence, but discipline repeated over time until it becomes instinct. People often talk about self-love, but they forget that real self-love includes discipline. It's loving yourself enough to follow through. Loving yourself enough to keep promises you made to yourself. Skipping the work might feel good in the moment, but it chips away at your confidence over time. You start doubting yourself. You start questioning your worth. But when you wake up and move with discipline, you rebuild that trust. You become someone you can count on. And that's powerful. Because once you trust yourself, no outside obstacle can truly stop you. You've already beaten the hardest enemy, the one in your own head. That's why morning discipline isn't about being extreme. It's about being consistent. It's about choosing progress over perfection. You won't always get it right. Some mornings you'll stumble. Some mornings you'll want to quit. But the discipline is in getting back up, in resetting again and again until it becomes second nature, until it's not even a question anymore. You don't wake up and ask, should I show up today? You just do. Because that's who you've become. Not because you feel like it. Not because someone's watching. But because you said you willed. And that decision made daily builds a life most people will never reach. There's a quiet heaviness we carry that no one sees. The emotional baggage of yesterday. The conversations that didn't go right. The disappointments that lingered. The mistakes you replay in your mind over and over again. And the truth is, if you don't consciously choose to release that weight every morning, it becomes a silent thief. It robs you of clarity. It drains your energy before the day even starts. You're physically present, but mentally stuck in the past. And when your mind is stuck in yesterday, you can't fully show up for today. That's why resetting your mind every morning must include one vital act: detoxing from what no longer serves you. Not ignoring it, not pretending it didn't happen, but acknowledging it, learning from it, and letting it go. You are not your past. Read that again. You are not the sum of yesterday's failures, missteps, or pain. But if you wake up and let those memories play on repeat, they become your reality again. That's the trap most people fall into. They relive the same stress from the day before, the same hurt, the same anger. And they wonder why nothing changes. Nothing changes because their mindset doesn't. But when you intentionally say, I am done carrying this, you create space for something new. You give yourself the mental capacity to build instead of just survive. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Wisdom to understand that moving forward is an inside job. And it starts in the first few minutes of your morning. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools in the morning reset. And yet it's one of the most overlooked. You wake up and immediately feel tension, resentment towards someone, maybe even toward yourself. And without realizing it, that emotion colors your entire day. It's in your tone. It's in your attitude. It shows up in your decisions. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about releasing. Releasing the grip that pain has on you. And here's the thing. Sometimes the person you need to forgive most is yourself. For the slip-ups, the lost time, the things you wish you'd done differently. Carrying that shame only delays your growth. But letting go, that's where freedom begins. That's where transformation becomes possible. When you detox your mind each morning, you're not erasing your past. You're refusing to be defined by it. And that's a radical act of power. Because now, instead of waking up reactive, you wake up in control. You decide what emotions stay and what emotions leave. You become the gatekeeper of your thoughts. And in a world that constantly pulls at your attention, that kind of control is rare and unmatched. It gives you the advantage. It gives you peace. Not the peace that comes from everything being perfect, but the peace that comes from knowing nothing from yesterday has the power to poison today, unless you let it. One of the most important practices in this reset is reflection. Take a moment, not to judge yourself, but to observe. What patterns from yesterday are still showing up in your mind? What voices are still echoing? What burdens are still sitting on your chest? Call them out. Don't suppress them. Bring them into the light so they no longer have power in the dark. This is how you break loops. This is how you stop repeating the same emotional cycles day after day. You can't grow if you don't reflect. You can't rise if you're still tangled in what dragged you down. And once you gain awareness, you gain choice. The choice to respond, not just react. It's not always easy to drop the past. Sometimes it clings. Sometimes it whispers. But each day, you have the opportunity to drop a little more, to breathe a little deeper, to reclaim one more piece of your power. The morning isn't just a time to get dressed or check your schedule. It's a time to cleanse your spirit. To say, that was then. This is now. And that distinction is everything. Because you cannot build a new future with yesterday's dust still clouding your vision. You need clarity. You need space. You need the emotional reset that only you can give yourself. Not through force. Not through denial. But through presence. Through honesty. Through the willingness to release what no longer belongs and rise. What you feed your mind within the first hour of your day will echo through every decision, interaction, and challenge you face. Most people don't realize how fragile and impressionable the mind is in those early minutes after waking. It's a clean slate, a window of raw openness where your brain absorbs whatever you give it, without filter. That's why the first input matters more than anything else. If the first thing you consume is negativity, fear, or distraction, you're already shaping your mindset to operate from lack, doubt, and chaos. But if you feed it strength, clarity, and intention, you build a foundation that nothing can shake. That early moment is your chance to program yourself before the world does it for you. The brain is not a garbage bin, but that's how many treat it. Scrolling through gossip, drama, clickbait, and mindless content before their day even begins. It seems harmless, but it's dangerous. Those images, headlines, and voices sink into your subconscious and begin controlling your narrative without your awareness. You start reacting instead of responding. You carry unnecessary stress. You compare your life to people who don't even know you. You create invisible enemies, imaginary fears, unrealistic expectations. This is how you lose your mental edge. By letting unfiltered noise drown out your inner voice. If you want to sharpen your mind, you have to be intentional with what you let in. The same way you wouldn't eat junk food for breakfast and expect high performance, you can't feed your brain junk and expect clarity. High performers, leaders, creators, they all have one thing in common. They guard their mental diet. They treat their attention like currency because they know it determines their outcome. Instead of flooding their minds with noise, they fill it with tools that sharpen them. Books, affirmations, learning, reflection, focused breathwork, or even powerful silence. That is how you prime a mind to lead. You remind yourself of your values. You repeat your goals. You reflect on who you want to be. It doesn't require hours. It requires intent. 5 focused minutes of clarity is more powerful than an hour of scattered chaos. That's the edge most people are missing. Not more time, but more alignment. People think inspiration is a spark that randomly shows up. But the truth is, inspiration is constructed. It's triggered by what you feed your mind. If you watch powerful speeches, read meaningful words, or sit in deep reflection first thing in the morning, your brain starts operating at a different frequency. You feel stronger. You speak with more conviction. You walk into the day with an energy that doesn't just respond to life. It leads it. But when you fill your mind with entertainment, gossip, and fear, mongering, your mental fuel burns out before you even leave the house. Your morning intake must match your ambition. If you want to build a powerful life, you must build a powerful morning. There is also emotional energy embedded in the content you consume. Every word you hear, every message you read carries a vibration, and your nervous system absorbs it all. That's why negativity isn't just annoying, it's exhausting. It triggers your fight or flight response, even when there's no real danger. Over time, that chronic mental tension wears down your focus, your mood, your decision-making. On the other hand, content that uplifts, challenges, or expands you triggers emotional growth. It energizes your spirit. It reminds you that you have control. It opens your creativity. You don't need perfection in your morning routine, but you do need awareness. Be conscious of what you're letting inside the gates of your mind, because once it's in, it starts shaping who you are. Make feeding your mind a sacred ritual, not a side thought. Just like you wouldn't neglect your body and expect strength, don't neglect your mind and expect resilience. Wake up and ask yourself, what do I want to think about today? What truth do I need to hear? What mindset do I want to carry? That's how transformation begins. By leading your mind before the world has a chance to. You are not just waking up to go through the motions. You're waking up to create, to shape, to build. And the material you use to build your life starts with what you feed your mind the moment you rise. So now you know your mornings are not just routines. They are rituals of power. Every breath, every thought, every choice you make within those first few moments is a declaration of who you are becoming. You are not here to repeat yesterday. You are not here to be consumed by noise. You are here to reset, to rise, and to lead. Stop handing your energy to distractions. Stop waking up and letting the world decide your mindset. From this moment forward, you command your mornings with intention. You feed your mind with purpose. You move with discipline. You let go of what no longer serves you. And you choose every single day to reset your mind, not because it's easy, but because you're done living on autopilot. This isn't just about waking up early. It's about waking up with power. About stepping into your day like it belongs to you, because it does. Let every morning be a mirror that reflects your strength back to you. Let it remind you you are not waiting for change. You are the change. Reset your mind, own your mornings, and build a life that demands respect, even from the silence before the sun rises.